So, Xbox is dead, Sony released a flop, and Nintendo has gone woke. Okay, this will be a long one. There's a lot going on in gaming right now. Things used to be so simple. You had handheld game systems for the low end, consoles for the mid range, and PCs for the high end. But lately, console makers are trying to make consoles like PCs. Yes, to make good graphics, they like to. But put more hand hardware in the systems. But nowadays, you don't need to have the best graphics in your games for it to be good. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League had amazing graphics, but it wasn't a good game. Also, the more RAM and GRAM you put in your consoles, the more expensive it gets. Remember when I said that consoles are supposed to be mid-range options? Well, when they get too high in price, they start getting into PC territory. I'm not trying to pay $700 for a PS5 Pro. Didn't we already do this with the PS3? It was $600. Way too much for a console. And I am certainly not going to pay $1,000 for the Xbox handheld. Handhelds are like consoles nowadays. A Steam Deck is around $400, and its competitors are not much more. That's where consoles and consoles-like handhelds belong. Pricing your consoles and handhelds so high will mess them up. When someone asks me why not spend $6, $7, $8, $900 or so on a console or handheld, I'll answer with because you can get a PC for that price instead, and you can do more with it. That's part of why the big three are having so much trouble. Yes, there is inflation. Yes, there are tariffs, and yes, there are other issues. But back in the day, console makers sold consoles for a little profit, or even at a loss, because they knew that if people got their system, they could make bank. Then they could make bank selling their games for that system. Xbox used to do that. Back then, you could only play Halo on Xbox. Nowadays, Xbox wants to be like Sega on Steam and YouTube. That's not going to work. Sure, Xbox games can sell, and if they aren't woke, and sure, they can have a digital store for them. PlayStation and Nintendo are also doing that, but to have a tier of Game Pass that is free with ads and having ridiculously low amounts of hours you can play multiplayer on that tier is not going to work. Yes, we do watch ads on YouTube, but it's a site for watching videos, not playing games. This thing will fail, just like that PS5 Wii U controller. Xbox used to be the dark horse with exclusive games and systems, and it was awesome. They need to go back to that. They also need to only have one tier for Game Pass. A reasonable price and new games should be available. Until they do this, they will continue to die. Also, cancel the plans for that $800 dollar plus system. That's PC territory. Time to make a system that costs half as much. It can be all digital, so you can charge for Game Pass, but charge a reasonable price. $15 to $20 can work. You can have your online store and charge whatever you want for games, and that will be amazing. You had better get started, Xbox. You have a lot of work to do to get our trust back. On to PlayStation's flop, Ghost of Yotei. Now, a lot of people are angry that Yotei is being roasted by fans of the first game, but the studio brought it on themselves. Tsushima was an amazing start to a universe. Yotei feels like a cash grab with lots of put a chick in it and make it lame and gay energy in it. Lots of woke DI pushers are trying to spin the justified hate of this game as yet another example of comfortable skin white male hate. No, the woman you play as does not look that good. She's pretty plain, but at least she does not look like Kay from Star Wars Outlaws, or Abby from Last of Us 2 with her man body, or Mary Jane with her man chin. But she has almost no breasts or curves, and she ends up with another woman and her brother's daughter in a possibly gay family. There is an anti-man bias in the game. The woman she ends up with is the only surviving member of the bad guys' crew she was hunting. People are comparing the story of this game to the story of The Last of Us 2. Then there's the gameplay. The Ghost of Tsushima again. It's Ghost of Tsushima again, but not as good. I saw a lady play it, and you are forced to switch weapons when fighting someone with a weapon that is weak against the weapon you're forced to switch to. There are bugs in the game, like people walking through solid objects and stuff like that. The game functions, but it's not a 10 out of 10. It's more like a 6 out of 10. Slightly above average, but not as good. Not as good as the 8 or 9 out of 10 that Tsushima was. Tsushima is. I'm looking forward to a proper sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. Almost as much as a proper sequel to Dragon Age or Arkham Knight. When the game companies get serious about making money again, we're going to see some great stuff. Until then, we'll get more girl boss games like this one, with more hidden sales numbers. Now on to Nintendo being woke. This has nothing to do with the new female president of Nintendo of America. This has to do with that new Pikmin ad. It starts off with a baby dressed in a blue onesie. He or she is given a pink pacifier and then is put on a pink rug next to a crib with a blue mattress in it. All this blue and pink remind me of the transgender flag. Was it meant to? Probably. They could have chosen any color for that stuff, but they chose those colors. And this is not the first transgender thing I've seen in a Nintendo game. There was a person in Pokemon who looked feminine but dressed masculine. He used he/him pronouns, but obviously was messing around with transgender things. Looks like every company has to have their woke DEI period. Xbox, Sony, Rocksteady, BioWare, Insomniac, Naughty Dog, and the rest had theirs and lost millions of dollars and lots of credibility. And now must claw their way back to stability again. Now it looks like it's Nintendo's turn. They are doing other things that other game consoles and companies are doing, like raising prices for systems and games way too high. We'll see how that works out for them. So that's it. Xbox is totally dying. PlayStation totally released a flop and needs to make better games. And Nintendo is totally following other companies' bad examples. This is a scary time, but also a thrilling time. Old companies may die, but new companies are rising to power and showing off. And hopefully, some old companies will learn their lesson and start making good games again. I'm here, Webcomics, and what a wild ride this is.